Community School District School Board to order. Could we have the roll call?
Jeffrey Mark?
Here.
Charles Marshman? Here. Eric Beverland?
Yes, here.
Rick McDaniel?
Here.
Darius Musman? Mark Dixon?
Here.
Kathy Burke? Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Good evening, Merry Christmas, welcome everyone. Kenny has asked to speak to the board, so at this time we will let you come talk to us, Kenny. Kenny Robbins.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ken Robinson. I'm the coordinator of officials for the North Iowa Officials Association here in North Central Iowa. And I assign officials for Belmont, Fleming, and 27 other schools throughout the North Central Iowa. The reason for me being here tonight is I'd like to get some clarification on the BK district payment of officials. There's a lot of times where a lot of time goes by before the sports officials get paid for services rendered. And I'm one of them that works a lot here for Belmont Fleming. And throughout the years, I've heard so many different things about when the checks are cut for sports officials. And it's getting very hard for me to officiate here in Belmont, let alone get anybody else to come here and officiate on a timely manner. I gotta sit down a minute, my legs are shaking.
Sure.
And I just would like to have some clarification on what is the district's policy as far as payment goes.
Can we?
I mean, are we cutting checks once a month, twice a month, school board meetings? When are the checks being cut? I do know that a couple officials have been paid after the last school board meeting, after the 14th. But yet, I'm still sitting here without a check from November 30th.
What my understanding of it is, Ken, is that after the games have happened, then the request for reimbursement goes in. And I don't know if there's a date, you know, that like it's a stop date, like we're gonna pay everybody up to the 8th of the month or the 10th of the month or whatever, and then those will be approved at the next school board meeting. I think that's currently how we're handling it, but.
No.
No, okay.
No.
But
I
that's
just,
not how
Jackie,
it
I
has
just
to
said,
be.
I know there's people that's
Yeah.
been paid that worked the 20th and 28th of November.
Right.
And they've been paid. And the school board meeting was on the
Was
14th.
the 14th, okay, so then I don't know.
Well, I'd like some clarification,
Um,
because I think it's not right. I mean, if,
Okay.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Should be paid. I agree. And Teresa probably is our new business manager. She probably, you know, she just started, so
Yes,
I'm asking her.
is it all right if I,
absolutely.
Yeah.
okay. So then what needs to happen with those, and I am aware that we've had an issue in the past, and we are working very hard, I want to let you know, to get that all cleared up. We've actually discussed this issue and how we're going to get it fixed, because I agree completely, you need to be paid timely. So the activity fund does not actually need to wait for the board meeting. And so what should happen is the day following the event, the athletic director will turn in a list of everyone who did work, and then we will get those checks cut. You should always see that payment within 2 weeks, and hopefully it's even less than that, because we're working to get it to where it's about a week delay. So I do understand your concern, and I'm glad that you brought it to us so we can get it addressed.
so when will I be paid for the 30th of November?
If you want to stick around, we can actually get you your check
No,
after the...
no, I don't want to work that way. I just want, I tell my officials to never, ever call a school about payment. If you have a problem not getting paid, call me. And then I talk to the superintendent or the business manager of those schools and work So no, none of my officials will ever call you, but I'm the coordinator of officials, and they call me, and then I contact the school. But it's getting what you have to understand is, and I'll make this very brief, is that sports officials in the state of Iowa are becoming very, very hard to hire, very hard. And it's, the average age of an official is 53 years old. And if we continue to not pay our officials in a timely manner, I'm either hearing, don't send me to that school again, or they're gonna retire. They're just gonna quit. There's a lot of expense driving to and driving back, buying your equipment and stuff like that to officiate. And I need, if it's a board, if it has to be a board approved, that's fine. But a lot of places that we go, you sign a voucher or an our school contract, and there's absolutely nothing on those forms that say when the official's going to get paid. Nothing. And once it leaves the AD's hands and goes to the business office, a lot of ADs, I'll call them first, and their first thing out of their mouth is, it's out of my hands. It's in the business office. And I just don't think that's an appropriate way to do business.
This may be a silly question, but is there a reason we cannot, we know who's coming to officiate. Why can't we give them the check when they leave that night?
I actually did reach out to a lot of business managers in our area. We had a regional meeting, so I just wanted to see what do other schools do.
Sure.
And there are some schools that do that, but even the ones that are pulling away from that, because what you end up with is an issue where you have to void a lot of checks. And so then if the official changes sometimes at the last minute, and so then you have to void those checks and reissue. And so then what is happening is that process that I explained, where the list gets turned in usually the day after the event, and then you see a 1 to 2 week for processing.
But
And
is that a problem,
I
Kenny?
talked to my son, who is an AD at Okoboji Milford, and he said that he gives his list of officials to the business manager, she wants them 10 days ahead. He hands the check to the official that night. I said, what if the official changed? He says, that's the official's problem. If they get a sub, they have to pay them. It's out of our hands. Almost never do games get canceled. The only time he runs into a problem is like a softball, baseball game where the weather might become inclement. He said if the officials have already driven to the game, then we pay them anyway for their time and their mileage. And then if we reschedule, then we try to get them to come back if they can. But I think that, and he said too, he said it's really hard to get officials, and if you're not going to pay them, they expect to be paid when they get there. And I think that's totally fair, and I would like to ask the board to amend the agenda so we can talk about that tonight and maybe clarify our policy or change our policy.
I
Or put
agree.
a policy in.
Or put a policy in place.
Yeah. Yeah, there probably aren't that many changes, do you really think? I mean, if you know that day, or are there?
What I do is, if there's a change that day, I change it in my software program right away, and it's sent to that athletic director right away. And they know.
Okay.
Now, I know some of the other assigners throughout the state, I'm retired so I can do it. Other assigners have got a business, they don't necessarily get it done. But my personal opinion would be, I agree with that, it happens, but people are pulling your leg. It doesn't happen that often.
Right.
It really doesn't. And I can prove it. But my point is if it does, what I'd like to see in place then is have the contract for the officials the night of the game for services rendered, the checks cut the next day, because you will know who the officials were that previous night or day.
So you would prefer that rather than having a check to hand them
That's-
that night?
All of my officials, if they're paid in a timely manner, 2 weeks is not a timely manner.
No, it isn't. Okay.
I think that would be appropriate to get the checks out faster.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion if we want to amend the agenda to add an action item 6F.
I would suggest that's not needed.
Okay.
The meeting's already started, the agenda would have to be amended before the meeting started.
we're on number 3 where it says approve amend agenda.
Well, that doesn't mean we can add things that have to be posted.
Okay, so can it be a discussion item?
We can discuss.
Okay, so 7E, but I need a motion for that.
I'll move that we add discussion of coaches, officials, payment to discussion items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. So 7E will discuss officials' payment, so that'll make it an action item for next month. Okay.
Thanks, Ken.
All right, thank you, Kenny, for your input. All right, item 3, approve amend agenda. I need a motion for that.
I'll approve that we approve the amended
Thank you,
agenda.
Jane. Second?
I'll second.
Sharon?
I'd like to make a change.
Okay, yes.
My apologies, I was jotting things down.
Yep.
I'd like to move 4C bills to 6A. And I'd like to move personnel items, appointments, 4E to 6B.
Okay, so 4E and 4C are now going to become 6A and B.
Correct.
Did I get that correct? Okay.
Correct.
So then the rest will be C, D, E, F, G. Okay. So we've already had someone move and someone second to approve or amend the agenda. We have a motion to approve it as amended.
I'll move.
Okay. And a second. Gary. All right, so first we're going to vote on the amended agenda. Okay? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, now the whole thing. All in favor of the agenda, say yes.
Yes.
Second, third, opposed? All right, there we go. So we have consent items of minutes, financial statements, and job description revisions. And we got those on our iPad.
You should have those in your packet that went out last Wednesday.
Yes.
Thursday.
All right. So do I have a motion to consent to these agenda items? Mark, second.
I'll second it.
Jane, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the consent items? Say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. Reports, superintendent's report.
Certainly. At your place, you should find a paper copy of my report. My apologies for all this paper here tonight. Today was my first day back after leave. And to expedite things so as not to confuse anything with late revisions to our electronic agenda, I decided to just put on paper here and kind of do a mixed bag of modern and old style. But the first thing I want to call your attention to is the first thing on my report. The Wright County Commissioners are proposing a $1.5 million gift of county tax dollars to the Eagle Grove School District. They are concerned about an influx of students coming into the Eagle Grove schools, and they are thinking if they gave them money that Eagle Grove could start building classrooms in anticipation of their increase in enrollment. One of the things, one of the considerations is the new Prestige plant will be TIFT, tax increment financing. They'll be basically tax-free from general fund tax dollars for the first few years. However, that doesn't affect the sales tax money, it doesn't affect PEPL, it doesn't affect bond indebtedness. bond indebtedness. So, so I'm not quite, and when that, of course, this 1.5 million would be for facilities, which would be paid for with one of those three funds. So anyway, Superintendent Olson at Clarion and I will be attending that hearing and asking some questions, because we would like to point out that there are still, as Dr. Olson said, there are still 2 other schools in Wright County.
Might I also add, when you TIF something, you made an elected decision not to give the money to the school district. By TIFing it, they said, we're not going to give you that money, we're going to keep that from the school. So instead, we're going to take other tax dollars from other parts of the county and give it to Eagle Grove. When do we get our cut? That's all I'm saying.
Well, there's a hearing on Monday,
They're
January
elected
8th.
officials that decide that.
Yeah, so we can't vote them out till next.
Stan, Carl, and
We can't vote them out till next November, right?
But we can go to hearing.
We could go to
Cost,
hearing.
you know. Discuss it. I think that
Said
would be
what
a
I
very
think.
good idea.
Maybe get the word out to other people in the community to maybe attend the hearing, to voice their opinion about it. Because elected boards, as this is one, you get a big crowd here voicing their opinion about something, they tend to listen. And if you don't speak up, nothing's going to happen.
Maybe a news article in the Belmont paper.
Moving on down my report, I did want to point out to you that we have a balloon payment coming up of $150,000 on the leased school buses, which we really need to continue to finance. And the rest of my report is in writing, and I'll let it stand as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Mark?
Thank you. We're obviously getting ready to finish up the semester. It's a little different at the elementary school than the high school. Obviously, they've got final exams and all kinds of commotion. We're just trying to keep everybody in one place and not worry too much about elves and Santa Clauses and all the other things that go on. I think it's going well. The kids continue to seem to enjoy we got a lot of new people in our building this year, and it's gone very well. One of the things that did come up, and I think it's somewhere on your agenda, so I don't know if you want to talk about it now, about the playground, is that
That's coming up.
coming up? Okay, I'll just wait to talk about that, but, again, we're just tooling along. We've had some good things happen. Dr. Frazier shared some of those on his update. We've got some great things going on in the classroom, a lot of collaboration between some of our specialist teachers and some of the classroom teachers that I really encourage and I really enjoy. So that's all I got.
My grandsons are looking forward to a dodgeball game against the teachers tomorrow.
Yeah, so we created a little incentive. We did some mid-year math testing called math testing, which is an assessment tool that we use. And if the students achieved a growth in their scores from last spring, then I gave them an extra hour in the afternoon off for parties, and they elected to do some dodgeball. So the teachers and the students are going to, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to compete, I guess. We're going to.
good luck.
Yeah, they outnumber us, just
Oh, and
381 to 27 or something. So
And they have plans too.
I understand that. I
They've
keep
got
hearing about it.
strategy.
I had a lot of trash talking going on in the cafeteria the last couple days. So yeah, I'm supposed to wear my comfort gear tomorrow.
Oh.
I should get comfortable. So we'll see.
Might want to borrow the vest from the cop here.
I've seen the dodgeballs. I think we're okay.
Does Greg have a report?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay,
He was at the basketball game. He
Right.
said he apologized that he'd be a little late, so I don't know.
okay, we can come back to
Fit
it.
him in.
All right, Teresa.
I'm just gonna stand back here, how does that work? Okay, so it has been very busy in the business office. We actually just had our financial audit for the fiscal year ending 6/30 of 17. We had 3 gentlemen from Norman Colte and Johnson from Newton, that's our audit firm, here on site. They were here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week. And I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what that process looks like and what they do while they're here. They come in and they perform a variety of tests. So things like they submit to us a list of checks, and so anything that is on this list, they want to see all of our backup documentation. They go through, make sure that we have all of the invoices to show what we're paying. They look through, make sure they are appropriate expenses to be coming from the district's funds, and then on top of that, they'll make sure that you actually pay it out of the correct fund, meaning like your nutrition or your general fund, and then also that you've coded it correctly. So just kind of an idea of some of the things they're looking at. They really do, they kind of go through with a fine tooth comb and just make sure everything's correct. And then the whole point of all this, they go through, they do all of their testing, and they just want to be able to provide reasonable assurances that our statements are free from any material misstatements. And then at the end, they will give their opinion. At this point, we have not received our official audit report. That'll take a while to come out. But I wanted to give you a heads up of some of the things that we do expect to see when that comes through. They mentioned some internal control issues, and so just to give you an overview of what that means, internal control from the board's perspective is getting like the policies and procedures approved that need to be in place, and then making sure financial information is accurate, making sure laws and regulations are followed. When you flip that over as far as the management perspective and the personnel perspective, it's more about making sure that we follow all of those procedures that have already been approved. So this can be things as simple as making sure that our bank statements are looked at, making sure that all of our reconciliations are done timely. And so that kind of brings us to some of the issues that they did find. And things like the bank reconciliations weren't always done as quickly as they should have been, which then makes it much more difficult to catch errors. We're all human. Things will happen that aren't correct, but then we need to make sure those procedures are in place. We follow them, we catch the errors, then we get everything corrected, and in a timely manner. By not having some of those things done, then it does lead to additional problems. I'm sure you're aware of the IPERS issue that we had, and then some of those tax payments not getting out. So again, just keeping these things in line is what's going to help prevent any of those issues in the future. One of the major things that came up was the teacher salary supplement, and I believe we touch on that later on tonight. And so just to give you a little overview of what happens there is we get this money, and it does have to be spent on teacher salaries. You are allowed a certain amount of carry forward each year as long as it's considered a reasonable amount. After fiscal year 16, we had about $7,000 that was carried over. And then after this year, we increased that by about 183. So that 190,000 will need to be spent, and we need to get that taken care of before we get to the end of this upcoming year. There are some other things that are going to pop up too, but those were really the biggest issues that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of. There were a few recurring things too that we've seen before. We still have our stock in Principal Financial Group. That's something as a school district we need to make sure that we are safeguarding the assets of the district, and so just stock by nature is considered too risky of an investment for us to have our funds. So that is another thing that we'll need to make sure gets taken care of. That's really, I mean, those are kind of the bigger issues. We will eventually have the full audit report. And then when that comes in, we'll make sure that we go through it so that you can understand what's in there and also what we will be doing to address any of those issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so action item 6A is now the bills.
I suggest this be moved to 6A, and just because the board didn't have an adequate time before the meeting to look over the bills, so I suggest that we take a look at these right now and see if you have any questions or concerns. And if you do have some questions or concerns, why then we have a couple of our business officials here who may be able to respond. They may not, because this is code, and we don't always understand what the code is without checking. So, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, not me, I don't know.
I appreciate the breakdown, how you got them listed. That's nice.
Ambulance is needed at 116 Lewis Lane North, apartment 10.
Sorry about that.
So we had a server hooked on
Yes, that was the one that was, that was a work stoppage. That was one we were gonna do next summer, but it just couldn't wait, because it was shutting down our whole system.
here, especially now. all these-
Right.
We get the answer on that.
It's cloud.
Oh, it's cloud service. Yes, I heard it. Yeah, see how quickly I forget. It's getting late at night.
Gary?
I don't use the cloud, it's kind of a fuzzy thing. Yeah, fuzzy.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve these bills?
I so moved.
Sharon, is there a second?
Yes.
Gary? Any further discussion? Bills? Any questions for Socorro or Teresa? Okay. All in favor of paying the bills, say yes.
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 Opposed? No? Okay, bills are paid. On employment, personnel, resignations, and recommendations.
All right, you have 7 points there on the personnel resignations recommendations list. I think they're pretty standard. I'd recommend a motion to approve those, and then I've got one more action item, and that has to do with appointing a temporary board secretary.
Did you want us to do them as a group?
I think it's fine to do them as a group, yes.
Okay. All right, so we need to, as a group, whoever would like to make this motion, accept the resignation of Josie Barkman as board secretary, effective December 7th. Accept the resignation of Galen Hoocher as head girls softball coach. Appoint Wendy Mites as assistant girls varsity basketball coach at 8% of base teacher salary with 7 years of experience. Appoint Jody Turner as junior high boys and girls basketball coach at 4.5% for each of those. Approve Landon Warden as volunteer assistant wrestling coach. Approve Kevin Fink as volunteer assistant robotics coach.
Well, that was
The second one, okay. Would anyone like to make that motion? So moved. Sharon? Second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. Is there any discussion?
We've got recommendations on all the hires from somebody in the administration, is that correct?
correct.
That's all I have.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes. I abstain.
Jane abstains. Any opposed? Okay, employment issues are approved.
Then Teresa points out that it is state code that the bills must be signed by a board secretary. Each check must be signed by a
Yes.
board secretary.
Yes.
And with that in mind, we need a temporary board secretary for those checks. And our solution is to temporarily appoint Socorro Martinez until we can hire a new board secretary and give that authority to the person.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Jane? Any further discussion?
We assume you want to do this. Okay, then we should ask that question. I'm sure that Dr. Fraser's already asked you that.
We just kind of told her.
Okay then. All right, all in favor of appointing Coro Martinez as temporary secretary, board secretary, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Maybe.
Maybe. Are we, where are we at now? Interviewing process?
The deadline is next week,
Okay.
end of next week.
All right. Next, we are at Jacobson Elementary Parent Teacher Organization Playground Grant.
Okay, you have some details in your packet regarding, to give you some background on the playground project, but here to speak to the board tonight, if you're willing to hear, is Lindsay Morris.
Thank you,
Hi.
Lindsay.
How are you?
Hi, Lindsay.
I just brought each of you one of these. This is kind of what we're working on, so you can look at it.
Thank you.
So we have, I didn't bring.
I don't need one.
You don't need one.
I've seen this.
Okay, here you go. Okay, so, yeah, you saw it. So we're really, really excited. We started out this year with 6 goals in mind, and one of them was when we did the wish list 2 years ago for both the high school and the elementary building, we had lots of teachers and lots of parents come up to us and say, we have no handicap accessible equipment other than the red swing. And the problem with the red swing, Mr. Owens pointed it out perfectly to me, was it is separated from all of the other playground equipment. And so any handicap accessible student that plays in that swing is still not amongst their peers. So as good of a thing as it is that we have that, it's not enough. And so we said, okay, well, what can we do? Let's see how much this stuff costs. And so I got a quote from a company called Outdoor Recreation Products, which is what's in front of you. And the breakdown and pictures are right behind it of the pieces that we're looking at purchasing. And I got it back and I went to my next PTO meeting and I said, guys, I think we might be a little over our heads. It's $18,355 worth of playground equipment. And they said, well, let's just start raising money. So we did the Belmont Community Service Women's Waffle Supper. We've run every concession stand since football for junior high. And through those 2 things, we raised ourselves about $2,500 that we can put towards a project. That's not $18,000. So I have never written a grant in my life, but decided I was going to start trying to write grants to see if we could get some money to go towards it. The first one I wrote was Foster and Evelyn Barkema Trust, and they so kindly awarded us $10,000 towards it, which we found out in November. And so I took that back to the PTO and we were super excited because, you know, now we're at 12.5. And I said, I'm gonna try to submit something to the Rural Trust. And I asked them to complete the project for the rest of the equipment. And so I found out last Monday that they have awarded us the rest of the $5,855, which will be payable to the school district in January. So the bid on the bottom of it says that it's only good until November 29th, but I called and I begged them to extend that for us so that they didn't increase it the 2.8% that they were going to. They've agreed until May 15th to give us that pricing into 2018, so we didn't have to go back and raise more money. As an afterthought, at our last PTO meeting, it was brought to my attention that, Lindsay, we can't send wheelchairs across the broken rubber pieces that we have out on the playground. And I said, didn't even think about that. So I'm asking you guys if you will help us with that portion of the project and put a rolled rubber substance of whatever you find or want to do to put it underneath that so that the wheelchairs are able to go that it's safe for the students. And those rubber chips are dirty, just saying, they're a mess. But they're messy. But that way all these kids can play together. The other cool thing that we did when we were picking the pieces that we picked is, you'll notice that 3 of them are drums, 1 is chimes, and 1 of them is an xylophone, and those are sensory-based issues as well. So for any kids that are dealing with autism or sensory issues, not only is it able to be accessed by a wheelchair, it can be accessed by an able-bodied student, but it can also help with the sensory issues. So we feel like we have touched lots of bases, and we're really excited about it. So they said it can be delivered if we get it ordered by spring. So, and from talking to these guys, they said that the building and grounds, we offered volunteer help, they said that's a legal issue, we're not gonna do that. So the building and grounds guys will be doing the installation.
They have stuff like this at Arnold's Park, and I see kids playing with it all the time.
Yes, they have it at East Park in Mason City, they have the xylophone there, they don't have the drums or the chimes, so I'm excited to see those, but I showed my own kids just to be like, and they were like, that's awesome, Mom. All right. I win. So.
Will the rolled rubber surface be as cushiony or whatever as the chips? I mean, it's a safety thing, right?
It is a safety thing. There's lots of schools and lots of parks actually that have the flat rubber already. And I don't know what the cost difference is between the two. Honestly, I didn't look at it. I kind of talked to Corey a little bit about it, and he said he was going to try to get some bids, and I said, honestly, I don't even know how much of the, because the idea is that this is extended to the east, where the red swing is right now, and it's just an extended portion of the playground that it all becomes one. So they're a community out there, the kids aren't.
So do we know the approximate cost of them?
No, I don't have an approximate cost or anything yet. When I priced, depending on the area, I priced one company and it was like $8 a square foot for one kind, but there's lots of different kinds out there. And then it goes based on the thickness, so that's a decision that you guys would have to make as far as how thick of a rubber do we need. And I don't know if there's a law or a guideline that you need to follow for that for safety reasons. But it was $8 a square foot, and I would think you probably need somewhere between 600 and 800 square feet total for that area. It wouldn't be more than that. So.
What are you asking from us?
Well, I think, is the board interested in sponsoring this project and seeing this go forward?
I think
it's a need.
it's a two-part process. First of all, we need to decide if we're going to accept a gift. And then secondly, we have to make a decision, are we going to put something underneath it besides rocks to protect the kids when they use it? I spent several hours on one of these playgrounds up in River Falls, Wisconsin with my grandkids, and spent 3 hours to be precise, a little over 3 hours on one of these mats. And it was with xylophone and drums and much of the same equipment that Lindsay is sharing here. And I'll tell you, it is firm but soft. And it is really, I think, as good as anything I've seen for kids to bump their head into safely. You know, if they fell off a 10-foot pole, they're going to get a concussion no matter what they hit. But in this case, I don't think that's what we're talking about. But I understand it is pricey, the rubber mat, the matting process, and basically they come in squares or sheets or rectangles, and then you have to weave, somebody has to weave them together so that they're a single mat. The only time I think there's problems if it gets snowy and icy. I think it could be slippery just like any other firmer surface, but I think we need to decide if we're going to accept this great gift. Lindsay and PTO will put it together. And second of all, are we going to provide it, and are we going to do it on the rest of the playground? I think that's the second piece to the second question. Are we going to leave that little rubber nodules out there, or are we going to put a mat down for the whole thing? Or are we going to say, thank you for the gift, and we're going to either do the mat on this piece or do the whole thing, depending upon price.
Did you have any idea what's under the base of that?
I have no clue because I didn't pull it up to look.
Yeah.
But it
it's
was
something.
awesome.
I've
Yeah,
seen those
Mark,
pieces.
you know, you've been in East Park there.
Yeah, and actually, West Park in Mason City actually has the matting on their
Okay.
playground. They redid that a couple years ago or
Okay.
so. And it's exactly what you're talking about. My understanding is they prefer it to be over something like sand or asphalt, because the flatter the surface, the better it wears and it doesn't get bunched up, etc. You can lay it in pieces. Some of them come and actually, they come with like an asphalting machine and they just,
Really?
they melt it all and just roll it out. Again, cost is obviously a factor and all that. From my perspective, from watching the students play in the playground the last 4 months, and from seeing, and I don't, this is not as important obviously as what the kids are experiencing, but the rubber things are nice in terms of they are soft, they do cushion a lot of falls, they are a mess. And I don't know how long, I assume that was original to when the building was built, they built the playground, so 10 years. It's showing its wear, and those rubber pieces end up in the building constantly, they're in kids' shoes and hats and et cetera, et cetera. It would certainly be nice, and I think hang out with the kids, and it's hard for them, really hard. And we have adults in our building that it's hard for them to get around on that rubber because it's uneven and and it gives away. So I guess I understand there's a money issue, and it's not my business to tell the board how to spend money, but I think if you're gonna look at a project like this, I think the grants would appreciate if the school kicks some money in as well. We had that discussion. They kind of expect us to pony up a piece of it as well. I think we should look at really redoing the whole area in some sort of a polyurethane, poly matting, and it is very, very soft. It's softer than what they have now. There has to be some sort of a base, but I don't know, maybe we may have sand underneath that anyway. I don't know what they put underneath. I didn't want to dig it up to look. The other thing is, the kids have suggested, some of the older students, the 6th graders suggested that they have trouble finding things to do on the playground that's positive and doesn't end up in a brawl. And so they have a game, there's games out there called Gaga pits or Gaga balls, which you don't have to use their equipment, but it's basically an enclosed little soccer game. And it would be something, if we're gonna redo that, it'd be nice to think about adding that. Mr. Fisher has actually done that through his church in Ames. They built their own. They just cut it's just wood and plastic to connect them. It's just like a large, it's probably about the size of this room, and it's just basically a enclosed soccer pit, and you can actually use those rubber chips, put them in there if you wanted to reuse them. So a couple different ideas, but I guess we would like to see some approval to at least go forward and explore some of the costs and what that might look like, because I think it's due for an overdue. And this is a great start.
Ed, do you have any experience?
I really don't.
All right, well, let's start with accepting the gift. Is there a motion to accept the gift from the PTO and the Fluid Trust and the Park Trust?
Sure, I'll move to accept
Jeff?
that. Thank them.
Yes. Is there a second? I'll second. Sure. Any further discussion on the playground? Grant?
Gotta tell you this story. I'm a storyteller. This park I went to in River Falls, Wisconsin was created because of a man who shot his 3 daughters. It's called 3 Angels Park. And my grandkids couldn't wait to get there to play because they know the whole story. They knew about this guy and lost his 3 girls. And the money was raised in the community to put this park in. It's beautiful. Anyway.
Any more discussion on the grant? All in favor of accepting the playground grant? Say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No? That passes. And, yeah, Sakura, would you write a letter of thank you to the Barkman Trust, the Lewitt Trust, and the PTO from the school board? Thank you. All right, so do we want to, well, who has some ideas? Or a motion,
Well, I'd kind of like to
direction to
see-
go with the
yeah.
playground surface? If we wanted to explore what our options are?
Well, I suggest just ask Mr. Young to come back with a proposal and some cost estimate for what he'd like to see happen on the playground.
Right.
I'd be glad to do that.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
Steel quarry probably for a few hours. sometime.
Yeah.
okay.
Take a look at it.
It's good.
All right, then we'll make sure we have a proper surface before we get the equipment in there this spring.
do that really in a timely manner because, like Lindsay said, that the biggest thing out there is nice.
Absolutely. I think we need to have you come back next board meeting with a proposal so we can okay it and get it done before the equipment comes. Okay. Next, we have the major building repair request for proposals for handicap accessibility at ball games.
Okay.
Mr.
Well, the accessible
Weininger.
playground was a good prelude for me, I guess.
Yeah. That's why we were hoping you'd have some answers for us.
Well, I hope, when Gary mentioned about 3 angels, I hope he wasn't inferring that we should have some else associated with this playground.
No, we don't need that event, no. I think we're already past that.
We've been working with Dr. Frazier, and he's been working with staff on looking at some improvements to the baseball and softball complex, and also the football and track stadium. So I had a PowerPoint of some of the ideas that Dr. Frazier and I have worked on, and I wanted to show you now. I haven't got the projector going. It's not my projector, I'm not sure. If you could get that going now. As soon as we get the projector going, you may want to come back here, because I'm not sure how well you're really going to see it
Okay.
from that
We
far
can
away.
come over there.
I haven't
You'll
looked
get
at
to
this
stretch
one.
your legs. Yeah.
What's that? Oh.
okay.
Someone's
Of course.
I don't know if I should help.
Well, you know more about this than we do.
You have to connect the blue cord.
You tell them, you get it fixed. We have the pro here.
I just push the power button again. Take it off the sleep.
You need that one?
He's got, I think that will, she's got the HDMI.
You're gonna be on camera now.
Use the other one.
Smile. That is better.
This is the baseball and softball complex. This is the road here, softball field, and baseball field here. This is the concession area. You have bleachers here, here, and here, and also the softball field here and here. I know Mr. Fisher's looking at maybe rearranging the bleachers somewhat. You want to get it behind the backstops, and we can work with that with him as it progresses. But what we looked at doing, was really the attached area would be the asphalt area, or concrete pavement could be one of the others. Okay, but again, we looked at extending this pad out here so we could have a drop-off area, and then we actually have this area here for the baseball field, and then this area here for the softball field. They could set it in these areas too. It all kind of depends on how the bleachers get moved around. But this is the areas that came up with. So I guess tonight we're presenting what we found, but we're hoping to get some feedback too. Is that right, Dr. Frazier?
Danielle, could you talk to him about what you talked to us about? Because your uncle's one of the people that would be
So,
affected by this.
my uncle comes to every whatever game. He's there
good.
all the time. His van, it needs 8 feet out from where he parks.
He needs it 8 feet out
Yes.
to get out of his vehicle.
So I
Is
just
he in
want-
a wheelchair then? Wheelchair
Yes.
bound? Yeah, okay.
All the time.
So I'm not sure where the parking's at. Is the parking extend along here or
Yes.
here? Or,
Both.
I mean, that's a big enough pad. You could put parking spaces here, but maybe we put some parking spaces here for accessible.
Well, behind the dugout?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Foul ball territory. You have to have a hard surface all the way to where they're going to sit
Yeah,
them.
no, I understand.
Unless you want to extend it out over here, this side. and
How
have
far is
parking
it from one side to the other?
From one side, which way?
Any side, like from here to here? Like how big
I
is
don't
this?
exactly know. This bleacher's 19 feet, so you're probably looking about 60 feet there. maybe.
So that would work, right, Danielle? Because he could park
You
and
could
get
put-
out.
You could put stalls right in
Plenty
here
of
if you want.
space to get out of his vehicle.
What about on the north side? They could park and leave it there. It'd be a passenger
Here?
side exit.
This area here?
Right, yep, straight up north of there, right by the fence.
That's an idea too.
They could make that the designated area.
Where are you saying, Mark?
Well, you could put one area on the very north side there, yep, just off that
We
pad.
add another one from what he's got.
Because basically,
Now, how many-
it'd be easier, because they could pull up and then just park right here. They wouldn't have to move again. If you're parking right here, then you've got to like reregister vehicles.
But isn't that just one spot?
That'd be one.
But that's just one spot though, right, Mark?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we'd have to think about what else to do, but I think that would be a good spot.
The only reason, I don't know what you've got this marked over here. What's
That's
this?
just new pavement.
So this wasn't a drop off.
Well, it's a drop off, yeah.
That's a big problem to me. There's a lot of cars that go back and forth. People park over here, and there's not a lot of room between there. Mopeds come by, kids come by, it's a cluster right there. And that's my concern,
When you
drop off
You're
there.
gonna have to get out on the passenger side, I mean,
Yeah, and
it's.
they won't,
it's tight
if
to
they
get-
open the north gate, that will help.
Yeah.
But we've never been allowed to open that north gate for some reason. But that would help people, you know, otherwise you have to come here, you have to drive all the way down to
The
get to
reason
the
why we
sidewalk.
want gates open is any type of park situation, you want one exit and entrance to be the same. In order to open both gates, if you open both gates and don't put a barricade up between the concession stand and the gate along Louis, you're gonna have people flying through there using it as a shortcut going between the two gates. You can open both gates, but then you're gonna have to gate it off or fence it off in the middle of the concession stand there somehow, so vehicles can't go in between them.
I guess,
So it's a dead end for both sides. Otherwise, you're gonna get even more vehicle traffic than you're talking about now.
Which
Going
would
back.
actually help if there.
Yeah, you will, no, you will. It's
So
part
they
of
come
it's
into-
part of designing parks and everything. That if you have an entrance exit here, an entrance exit here, nothing blocking off here, you will get twice as much traffic. If you open up both these gates, you need to have a barricade here so vehicles can't get in between the two gates. So they have to exit and entrance from the
It
same
does, it
spot.
makes all kinds of sense to me.
Plus, that's what you have to do for any type of
The only
park.
thing I would, maybe, I don't know anything about what you're saying, but that's probably true. But
Yeah.
if you're coming to softball, you come in here and you park here.
Yeah.
You come in baseball, you come in here.
Yeah.
and park.
so,
You don't drive down here very much.
So
That's
to
the only
barricade
thing.
there would not be a big issue, and it would
But
solve my
if you
bulkhead
open
traffic.
Might not be.
If you had both gates open,
Yeah.
people would be going to and from both, because when they back out, they won't want to turn around or something, so they'll go up to the next gate. If you're gonna have both gates open at the same time, you have to have that barricade.
Yeah.
Won't you have to have more staff though to take tickets
Yeah.
at each?
Yes, you
You
will.
have to have one at each, at
Yes.
least one
Yeah.
person. We have two now
That's the
that takes
downfall
it.
to it when you have paid it.
So we can split
But
it. But
otherwise
anyway,
it
that
won't
doesn't
work.
matter. We can decide that later, but.
Right.
you know,
But-
the parking stalls and drop off for this would be in
Yeah.
this area here. Now,
Two
two questions,
buses.
how many spots you need? And do we need to put some up here closer to the softball rather than have them all in this area?
I'm thinking, yes.
have to have one on both sides.
Yeah.
We've got the
How many spots
bleachers.
do we want to have, I guess?
You got
That's a
bleachers
good
right
question.
here. And then in
So
between
put- maybe
the
make sure we have
bleachers,
two
you got
here and
this.
At least two here?
Yes,
Is that
I
it?
think they should be the same.
Put them up here, you saying? Where are you
No,
saying?
what
Right
we're
here.
saying is that maybe they should be the same for both.
On
Right
both
here,
sides.
Oh, I see what you're
Right
saying.
here.
So
Like-
this is handicap parking, is
Well-
what you're saying?
Part of it
No.
would be, yeah.
Drop off
Yeah.
and parking.
And parking?
But they could both be that,
Yeah. Yeah, they
if
can.
you opened up both gates and
This
put a
this could
barrier.
be, I mean, they could park this way too, I mean, here, and we could eliminate some of that, I guess, the idea, we had it kind of held at one time, then it was decided just, well, let's just square the whole area off.
Is this including that cement pad that's already there?
Well, the cement pad's there is right underneath the.
Well, there's one
Yeah,
that
only-
comes out here too.
Not very much.
Not very
Because-
far, I don't think, that's just over there.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think it's under the
You're
roof,
right, right.
and there's
Yeah,
a couple
right.
picnic tables there, and that's about
Right.
it.
So this is the whole row. Yeah.
So, to provide a couple spots here and a couple spots here. And just-
Well, if they
stripe
park
them in
here,
the
they aren't gonna
designated-
be able to see because the bleachers are there.
Well, I'm assuming they're gonna get out of their car and not necessarily, don't think, or?
Well, it depends on the disability, I suppose. I mean, they get him out though, don't they? But would they?
They would prefer to get them out, honestly.
Out of the car, right?
But
Right.
he's,
They
it
would like
wouldn't
to-
matter if you couldn't see the gate from the car, is the question. Right? You get out of the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he
See,
doesn't,
we've allowed football at park in their car and watch.
I mean, if you're not gonna get out of your car, you can park any place along here, I guess.
Right, right.
Right, we just don't
You
have
don't have
any,
to have a hard surface.
we don't have any
Right.
handicap marked right now. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put a couple parking spots here and a couple here. We'll just leave this a large area, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. And now I'm gonna move over to football and track stadium. This is a little more complex. And we're gonna look at two things. We're gonna look at two things here. One is having hard surface, and the other thing is looking at possibly the hard surface will provide handicap spaces on the ground. But we're also looking at, there's a request by, I think, one of the board members, to look at possibly getting handicap spots up in the bleachers, which would be code correct, okay? Really to put them on the ground, not in the bleacher areas, really, to a certain degree, by the ADA and even adopted, Iowa State adopted code, you're considered discriminating against them.
Yes.
I think to use that word in school, but
Yeah.
kind of, that's how they look at it. So we've got two things, ground space for handicap accessibility, and also incorporating them into the bleachers. This is your existing football field, obviously. You guys know, Jacob's here, we're down here, road's over here. You can see there's all gravel through here. Gravel comes up along and then goes in front of the bleachers here. People enter from this gate here, I think, from the nursing home. They actually come in active all the way around now.
Correct. They have to go all the way
Have to go all around. Okay. So part of the idea was trying to get these nursing home people so they could come in this gate here and then, you know, move down along here instead of having to go all the way around. We had looked at having handicap accessibility on both ends. So it's kind of hard to see, but the hatch area, wide area is really where we're looking at putting pavement. And we're looking at putting pavement, you know, underneath the bleachers also, but in front of the bleachers, around the backside. I assume there's going to be traffic there. Between the bleachers and the fence is only like 5 foot 4 inches, so it's pretty tight. So if people really want to go from one end to the other, I assume a lot of people are going on the backside just for speed and not going over the stairs.
Yep, they are.
That's correct.
So we have parking down here and hard surface parking and entry here at the ticket booth here. And then we had this angled out. I think we looked at initially putting the ambulance accessibility directly. But now we've kind of backtracked and looked at maybe the ambulance should be able to
There,
descend.
Yep.
yeah.
So, you know, you could probably make this pavement area smaller here if you wanted to.
So can you go back to that picture? So what is that including now with bleachers? Are you we're gonna make those bleachers so we?
I'm gonna go
Oh,
there
you-
next. That's
okay,
next. I'm gonna
excuse
go
me.
there first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go there
Yep,
next.
so we have two entrances, again, just like what we were talking about with the baseball and the softball. Okay,
Into the stadium. Yeah.
so we'd have, again, to staff two entrances.
Well, I think the north entrance, we were talking just handicap only.
Right, but how are you gonna stop that if you don't staff it? How are you not gonna have people walk in?
Yeah.
Okay.
We looked at doing it in asphalt and concrete, and, you know, some of the benefits, asphalt is less money. Concrete, you could control better in terms of tolerances, in terms of slope. They're both pretty flat sites. Okay, I'm not sure if we get any slope in baseball and softball. I guess my hope is we can get a little on this side where it appears to maybe drain a little slope to the west, you know. The survey's been conducted. We should be getting a survey here the next week on this area. You know, the asphalt, concrete will not move as much as the asphalt. Keep in mind also, the asphalt will get awful hot in the summer, so the softball and baseball field, that you may want to consider concrete there, maybe asphalt here. It's going to have a larger, higher impact in terms of heat, you know, heat island effect over on the baseball and softball field line.
But you would give us both proposals, right?
Yeah, we can bid them both ways.
Do we have to put it all the way under the bleachers? Is there a reason for boring and just?
What I did is, you know, I figured that you have, you know, the bleachers in the baseball and softball field, those are movable.
Correct.
And the ones here, you have the ones here, the large ones in the middle, obviously, those aren't movable.
Right.
But the two in this end and one in this end, they're movable. And rather than try to work around them, probably better to put the pavement right underneath. Now, if you use an asphalt, you know, that weight of that bleacher may sink down in the asphalt.
Right.
So if we have the bleachers there and we use asphalt, we may want to send them some kind of concrete pad, at least where the runners are at. Or just make that whole area underneath the bleachers concrete. That might be best for you.
I'm just throwing this out there, but that's a 6-lane track.
What?
It's a 6-lane track. If we ever wanted to make it an 8-lane track,
You have to move the bleacher, well, you could, the track would move to the east probably.
Yeah.
it could, okay,
Yeah,
I
over
just
to
don't
the
want
fence.
to like
That's right there.
eliminate any.
Those bleachers are pretty permanent, what you have there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room to go to the west.
No,
Right.
no.
So we looked at cost here, we looked at the baseball field, softball field, and we're figuring like $6.50 a square foot. And the asphalt, that's, you know, actually I've got a quote that include everything for the asphalt pavement. So you can see that the asphalt is about 3/4 the cost of the concrete. And down here you can see it's about, concrete is about what? 25% more than the asphalt. With this here, now in front of, between the bleachers and the fence, we're gonna do that in concrete, okay? It's because of the configuration. You kind of see that here where, number one, you can't get an asphalt machine there. Number two, you've got these piers here, this concrete piers in the front. So this would have to be done in concrete regardless of this. I'll talk a little bit about if we want to convert these to seating where we have it, you know, up at this level, up here. And what we talked about, Dan and I, was maybe locating it down on this end rather than this end, because I'm assuming there's more traffic down at this end, which is that's where the restrooms and concessions are. So if we locate them more at this end, probably for just convenience for everyone, it probably makes a lot of sense.
Well, the band always uses that entrance underneath them. We did it on that side of the stairs.
And uses what now?
The second set of stairs.
The
like
north.
that- The
Oh,
north
down
side.
here.
Yeah.
The north.
Yeah.
So the band sits down on this end?
Yeah, they go
Yeah, we
up
do.
And then they go out at
Student
halftime.
Do they sit in the movable bleachers down
No,
there?
No.
they sit on the
Or-
north end of the permanent
Permanent.
Well, then
bleachers.
there's, need to think about, we're going to put the handicapped people in front of them, wheelchair bound people.
Probably not.
I don't know, maybe they want to be there, maybe
They want those drums to beat in.
I don't know how loud they are, I guess, you know. So this is really your existing bleachers, grandstand area, but tracks out here, football field, fence here. This is the permanent bleachers with your press box and coach's box. These are the movable, portable bleachers here. And you got the 2 stairs here. And again, they step up and they go up to these aisles and the bleachers. Same kind of photograph we showed before, but again, we're looking at building, you know, extending this out with a platform, and I'll show you too the scenarios are taking this out, okay? But this is the first one where we would take this out, and so just remember what this looks. They step up, they're 22 inches deep, about 7.5 inches high. So this is like a section on the end. So this is the first one, this is the existing one here, first riser, second riser, third riser. So if we set this platform level with this first riser, then this wheelchair space is designated here by the dashed line, and that's 48 inches deep. Okay? So if that's the scenario, then between the wheelchair space and the edge of the fence, you have about 3 foot 1.5 inches, about this wide, which is pretty narrow for people to bypass and to be going like this to a certain degree. So that's not ideal. You know, it's the easiest way to do it. But the next scenario is really, I went up to the next riser. So I looked at coming, this is the first riser. We were level here before. Now I'm taking up to this level here. So you have this 4 foot deep wheelchair space, and that gives you basically 5 feet from the front of the wheelchair space to the fence, which is 5 feet is adequate for 2 people passing. Okay, that's more than adequate, very adequate. So I looked at a couple scenarios here, and again, we had this down on the north end, but it could happen pretty much any place in here. But, and I'll go on this larger diagrams
So they'd be
in a little
green.
bit. But again, the fence is here, the main bleachers here, but I have a ramp coming up here. This is that existing movable bleacher, but the ramp comes up here, then there's a platform here, and I have a stair on this end, and the stairs on this end, and then the seating here. And this is a little larger diagram, but you can see that the stairs is here, so you walk up 3 steps, just like you did before, then you walk up to, there's a step here to go up, okay, and then the second step, the second riser. So there's 3 steps here and then 2 steps here. And I have a little railing right at the end here, just so people don't step off. But I'm showing 2 wheelchair spaces here, 2 here and 1 here. And between them, we have what we call companion benches, okay, and that's required to be ADA. If we're going to do this legally, then we have to have it so a person that's not wheelchair bound can sit next to a wheelchair bound person. So with that scenario, you can get 5 people, you know, just in that space. Just in that space there. Now, Mr. Frazier's been gone for all the right reasons. But so I talked to Mr. Fisher yesterday, and I said, well, how many people really are wheelchair bound to football game? Because I realized that we have people coming down from nursing. So he said, usually, a lot of times you have like 10 wheelchair bound people there. So I said, okay, we have 5 here. Can we accommodate 10? So what I did is I really had the ramp here. I turned it this way, but just because this is the bleachers, you know, the existing movable bleachers would have to move down. But anyways, you come to the center ramp, and you have 5 on this side and 5 on that side. Again, I had stairs at both ends, but there wouldn't have to be a stairs here if you wanted to, you know, curtail traffic through there. A little larger diagram shows it here where, again, this is the ramp up. And I have to do this in 2 runs because I'm over 30 feet. You can only go 30 feet, and then you have to have a landing.
Right.
And this is 36 feet, it's 36 inches high, so it's 36 feet. But I have basically the platform here, 5 here, and 5 here. Again, these are the companion seats. If we move the bleachers down here, that bleacher would basically be the same distance as this one down here from, you know, the center of the bleacher to the end of the bleacher. Okay. I haven't put together any costs for this because I'm not sure if you want to pursue it time at this point.
But theoretically, you could flip it to the other end.
Yeah.
We could move one of the other movable bleachers to the other, to the north end.
There's a telephone, there's another light pole here, it's a little closer to the end of the
Yes, it
bleachers.
is.
It's
Yes,
a
it
little
is.
closer, so we have
It
to,
is.
but we could work around that, and we could move these, you know. If you go to Hampton Dumont, they do something similar where they walk up, they actually have a platform across the front now. And so they brought a ramp up and they put a seating area over here for wheelchair bound people, kind of seats, just off to the side.
And there's-
Similar to what we're doing
there's no
here.
law that says the band has to sit on the
No.
They could sit on the south.
Yeah, that was just a thought.
Yeah,
That was a-
but it's right to think about it.
So down here would be fine unless you move the band, right?
That's what we're saying, the band could sit on the south end instead of the north end.
There's a gate right there too.
No, it would.
Oh, to go out to the field
Right,
for
to play,
intermission
yeah, at halftime.
performance.
Yeah, and before the game.
Yeah.
They do the national anthem.
Yeah, right.
So if you're interested in pursuing, you know, wheelchair bound people having a seating space on the platform, then I can go back and work up an estimate on that. So, you don't necessarily have to decide tonight, just need to let Mr. Frazier know or him decide.
Board members, you want to comment? Do you feel comfortable with the 5 spaces or 10 spaces or?
I think we should get costs on both of them.
Yeah, I work them both out.
So, I mean, once you build a ramp up and you build, this is the hard part, because we're building
Right.
on the top of that platform and
Right.
doing some modification
Right.
to the existing bleachers, but this will be a pretty minimal cost, I think.
Right.
Pretty cost effective.
And even though the cement will help a lot of people, bring the cement in, you might as well be able to have the wheelchair access with it.
Right.
Well, the ramp alone will help a lot more. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more people than just wheelchair bound.
Yeah, that's what I said, it will help
Yeah.
other people, but
Could
if
use
you're
the ramp.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have friends that are unstable,
Right.
and they're not wheelchair bound, but having a ramp would be really,
You know, it's
I
possible to
agree.
put that platform all the way across here, just not wheelchair, just platform, but it's kind of nice where you have the chain link fence down low, then you set back up high, you just have rails, so I think you have a better view.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I think you do.
You do.
So I kind
Because
of
you got the
like the
team,
way
see,
it's set up.
the team is out there too, remember, they got
Right,
kids
they're
standing up with their
standing
helmets
up in
on,
front of it,
so if you
yeah.
don't have that elevation,
Right.
They're walking in front of you in the ground so you can see what's top of people.
Right.
We played at a couple of fields this year that didn't have that elevation. If you were in the
You're better.
bottom of
I like the way
bleachers,
it's set up.
you didn't see any of the game.
yeah.
I'm really not sure why we would take bids on 5 wheelchair spaces when we know right now we line up way more wheelchairs than that.
Yeah, I was just surprised there was 10.
I was surprised at 10 too.
I just didn't realize that, maybe I'm just not very observant.
And that's just the home side.
Yeah.
True. Visitors too.
Yeah.
Board members, what are your thoughts? Would you like to see us proceed with this, that have Ed start making up plans to put that bleacher addition on?
Yes.
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 I'd like to see the cost for 10.
Yeah.
I'll get an estimate
I
together.
mean, I think, I agree with you. I don't think 5 does us any good if we have more than that coming to the game.
You know, let's spend a bunch of money on 5, it might as well do the extra and
Right.
get
Because I'm guessing
10.
it won't even add half again as much cost to it, because the park by itself is gonna be so much easier to build.
Well, the ramp is the ramp, it's the
Right.
same ramp, it's
Right.
not gonna be adding to that.
And the 5-foot space, not the 3-foot space.
Right, yeah,
Is-
don't.
And when I came here, I thought that was one of the neatest things, the way the nursing home wheels all those people over and lines them up on that fence, and that was pretty sweet.
It'd be kinda nice if we could get a bunch of them up into the bleachers,
Sure.
instead of having to sit at the fence.
Right. You can really see the game.
Yeah.
So do you think we want to put them on the north side or the south side? Is
I
there-
think the north side would be better.
North,
since we
because that's where they're
already
coming
come in
from.
Yeah, it'd be close
The
to the
band
nursery.
could move in if
We
that's
can
a
tell them,
problem.
we
Yeah.
can ask
They'll
them.
move.
And what about the pavement here? Does that make sense to you that, and again, up here we have the ambulance sitting here. This is just covering all the gravel inside the fence except this little area here.
And I will tell you that it is awkward for not just this event, but for the 4th of July event that we happen to do at the field. The rock out there is not easy to walk on. And I think paving would really add a lot to our facility.
Neither
Whether
is
it's-
the baseball or softball's worse.
Yeah, oh, I know. I had some issues with instability caused by vertigo. I went out to a game one night, and darn near fell down 4 or 5 times, walking on the rocks. I could not keep myself balanced until I got some good stuff in me to straighten me out.
Could we square off the bottom, since
Yeah.
we're not gonna put the
But
envelope
I
there?
think just maybe just square that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
But what about this space here? Just leave that gravel here?
What is that?
That's north of the
Well, that's just
concession.
around that drinking fountain there, that's in the grills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
But
that's
that's where a
fine.
tree
Yeah.
is too.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I wanted to look at is really, the drainage
Tree
problem. And I
removal.
think, I'm not sure how big a problem the drainage is gonna be in the football and this track stadium, but in the softball and baseball complex, I mean,
Problem.
rain's gonna fall in here, and it's gonna trickle off, or if we get any kind of slope, but then where's it gonna go when it hits the gravel? It's gonna be a muddy mess.
It'll go right here where the big hole is, and then all the water
Right in the
is
parking lot where.
the
You know
whole
what's-
year.
Well, I didn't know if I was gonna look, see if there's a storm sewer along the
No,
road.
that's a swamp out there.
There's no, if there's a storm sewer, then you could have some inlets in here, and drain it to a storm sewer.
After rain, you drive by, that parking lot is full of water.
I don't believe
Yes.
there's any storm sewer running
Yes.
through
I
there.
don't know, I don't
You
know
don't
if
think there's
there's
one out there?
Because I know the stuff from the school here has to go to Third Street.
Right.
There's nothing, but what about the houses over here?
Well, there's sanitary sewer, but storm sewer, I don't believe there's any storm
I
sewer.
don't think there's any, it's all surfaced
Yeah.
drainage.
Because even
Well,
this
It may
parking
go
lot is
north of the,
lake.
of Jacobson.
I'll check with the city and see what the
Yeah.
closest one
I-
is, because
Well, there's
hate
gotta
to
be
put all
one
this
up there
in
by
and have a muddy
nursing
mess,
home.
have it
I
worse
feel like
than it
there's
is.
one right, like from that sidewalk from Jacobson, right under the nursing home.
Right, I think there is a storm that runs clear down to it runs clear west to the river. Everything there drains to the river to the west, and it comes down 7th and then goes down 5th, then to 3rd, and then finally goes to the river. It's a mess.
What I wanna do is I wanna go back and get an idea of the scope of work, define it better tonight, and I wanna put together what our fee would be, and I'll get that to Dr. Frazier, so he can get it to you. because that'll have to be approved and reviewed by you.
I thought it was free.
Well, the study's free.
Oh!
Oh, now we get down to the serious stuff.
I thought it was 10% less than free.
What a bargain, what a deal.
And by the way, we have started the study. Okay, that we
The water is bad.
Confirmed.
The water's bad.
Can,
But I guess my question would be also is, I know you're gonna get further away from the restrooms and the concession stand, but what do you think about putting them out further towards the outfield? But the problem is then you gotta go through all that money necessary to get there too, so we don't have that paid.
You're talking about the officials part?
No, for the handicap.
Oh. Well, they have to have a hard surface. all the
Right,
way.
that's what I'm
They
saying.
can't go across the gravel.
no, we can't.
Until that whole parking lot's taken care of, blacktop or whatever, you're gonna have to put it closer.
Do we wanna come out this far? Do we wanna, take some of this off? I don't know, what do you, I'm just wondering.
I don't know what we'd be
Save some
using it
money.
for. If you've got places for people to unload,
Okay. Just leave it.
I don't know what you need the concrete
Okay,
for.
well, it makes
looks like
simple
it's
in terms of
nice.
pouring the concrete.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it like that.
Who knows?
So we're gonna, between now and the next board meeting, we'll develop this a little further. I'll get an estimate for the platform and the handicap, wheelchair-bound seating and the bleachers and the football field and track seating. Okay. All right. Very good, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Have a joyous Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, so we're just being presented information on that.
Correct.
We don't need to do anything.
We wanted to give you feedback on that.
All right. All right, our next item is 6E, the school fleet vehicle purchase. And I don't see John here, but I see he's given us the information.
You should have an extra sheet here, in addition to what was in your packet, that has the bids that came in last Friday. And you'll see the low bidders were Hoagland, but Hoagland's buses were all conventional style buses that won't fit in our bus barn. And we specifically spec'd out stub nose, transit style. Thomas had a cheaper bus again that was, Thomas had a cheaper bus that would have been a lower bid than the Bluebird, but it again was conventional style. Their transit style, you can see, is 93.3. So the low bidder is Bluebird at just under 89, and that's what I recommend for the board.
Do I have a motion on this item? Anyone? Okay. Mark, move to do the Bluebird bus bid. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Rick? Further discussion?
Bluebirds are good buses by comparison. I can't believe people don't bid what you tell them to bid. It just blows me away.
Well, I think they've got stock they're trying to move.
Okay. But we've got a barn, it's only so big. Okay.
Maybe they thought they could because us. Any
Don't
further
mess up
discussion?
what you need with what they want to sell.
Yeah, right, exactly, right.
This is the large bus, right? The one that makes the biggest number.
77, that's as big as they come.
I think this is for like the long trips. They want to have the best bus when you're going to forest.
Like when we go on soccer trips and everything. we want this.
Or like a van trip or Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of purchasing the Bluebird bus for $88,965, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The TSS fund.
Okay, when our auditors left last Wednesday, they informed us that we have not been properly distributing the teacher salary supplement money. In my narrative on page 27 there, it explains a little bit about what teacher salary supplement is. It's money that comes directly from the legislature to our teachers to try to boost their salaries. It came in about 10 years ago when it was found that teacher salaries in the state were averaging far below national averages. And the legislature created this fund to boost teacher pay. And with the idea that this money can be used for one thing and one thing only, and that's teacher salaries only. And that means we've got this fund, and we have to give it to the teachers. So what you see in your packet, in your paper packet now, the teachers have discussed how they would like their money distributed. Now, the legislature gave us this money, gave schools this money, and they really said they didn't set up any specifications about how you decide how the money is distributed. You can give it all to one person, you can give it all equally to all 60 teachers, do whatever you want in between there. But there's no bargaining requirements, there's no arbitration that goes into this. It's basically teachers, school board, and administration play nice together, figure out how to distribute the money or send it back to us. So basically that's it. We just need to reach a gentleman's agreement about how the money will be distributed. Now, with giving out $190,000, that could have a tax impact on our teachers, and we're going to try like heck with the chaos that we're struggling with in our finance office, trying to get everything put together here by the end of the year. We're going to try like heck to get this payment out yet this year and get it in the last paycheck. Now, the teachers have requested a special bonus check for this money. And last we knew, that's not feasible under modern regulations that were brought about by the Affordable Care Act. Would you care to comment on that, Teresa?
I'm actually not sure. I mean, the final paychecks for December go out tomorrow. So I was hoping to do it in a supplemental paycheck, if you will.
Special supplementary
It'll have
pay.
to be separate or after the new year. So I'm hoping that we can just do it separately, but I'm not sure that what you're referring to. I'm going to have to check that out and see if that is allowed.
Okay, good. This has come on us so quickly. We're working as fast as our little feet are paddling away as fast as they can go. But anyway, here's what we're proposing. Now, the teachers, these are rough estimates of dollars, please understand. We've got to really crack down and figure it out to the nickel before we distribute the money, but roughly we're saying there's $195,000. Now, before you distribute $195,000, you have to first go in and you have to pull out all the Social Security and all the Iowa Public Employee Retirement System money before that. So otherwise, this money is a penalty on the rest of the school district. So that has to be paid up front. And obviously, the teachers, in making this distribution of funding, they have not calculated for the FICA and NIPERS. So we'll have to make some adjustments on that. But roughly, here's how they would like to see it distributed. They'd like to see the people with 30 years of experience have $6,000 apiece. And they'd like to see the people in the first year have $310 apiece. Some of the thinking is that, well, those people who were in their first year, this money is left over from last year, so should those people here in their first year get any money at all? I do have a little bit of a problem with the idea that if we've got teachers, some teachers making 65 and some making 35, that we should give most of the money to the people making 65, but this seems to be what the teachers want for the most part, so I'm recommending that we approve what the teachers are requesting for this money that should have been distributed last year. I've already indicated that the complexity of taking what we're paying them currently on top of calculating for what we still need to pay them for this year, that we're probably gonna just say, everybody gets the same amount of this 110 that needs to be distributed this year. Because we're just gonna have a mathematical issue there. And that doesn't have, some teachers are not very happy with that, and they say, well, you know, we're doing the best we can with this at a late date. But anyway, what I'm asking the board is to approve the distribution of this roughly $195,000 in teacher salary supplement money, with roughly half to be paid before December 31st, so we can alleviate some of the tax complications for our teachers.
And the balance will be paid sometime during the rest of this fiscal year.
During the fiscal year.
Yes, within the fiscal year.
June 30th.
So
Yes.
this is the number one, is what you're.
In the next calendar year, but within this fiscal year.
Got it.
And then do
Right.
we still have money for this year?
Yeah, down below.
Yeah, this
That's
is,
the second.
Number two.
yeah, part one is the money that's left over
Got it.
from last year. Part two is
Yeah.
the money that's left over this year.
Yeah.
And that's not, these are not hard and fast numbers. This is Dan's
No.
ballpark number.
The bottom one.
No, I get it.
Yeah, the bottom one is.
But I totally agree that the people that weren't even here last year, that's, the money should have been paid last year. It
Yeah,
should
yeah,
have
but
been
you
paid.
see, but the people that left aren't getting any of it.
Exactly, and I was one of those people
Yeah.
4 years ago
And
that
so I
didn't
guess
get my
what I'm saying
TSS
is-
money.
You can't make it right for everything.
Right. And doubtless there could be some people, retirees in the last 2 years, that say, hey, how come I can't get a piece of that pie? Well, we cannot distribute tax dollars to people who are no longer employees.
Yeah. But we can to people who are currently employees, even if they just got here.
But that's
So
not
you're
what you-
saying the first part's gonna be, one part's gonna be 5 years of service and one part is going to be equal pay? Is that what you're telling me? Or are you telling me not?
This one is gonna be by years of service,
Yeah.
last
Yeah,
year's money.
All I'm asking for
Right.
tonight is
Right.
approval of the distribution of the $195,000.
Okay, all right.
Top section.
The top section,
And
part
then
one.
2 will be figured out later.
Got it.
Two will be figured out later.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion from someone to distribute the $195,000 TSS money from last year, the way the teachers want it distributed in
Boy,
2 payments.
Who wants to be Santa Claus? Go for it.
I'll move.
James,
Ho, ho, ho.
I'll second.
Mark, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. It passes. Okay,
Okay.
school budget development calendar.
Right. For the last 20 years, I've done a complete financial analysis of district financial issues in December. This year, I'm not doing that. I have no idea yet where we are financially. And, but however, I'd like to propose that we use this calendar on page 28 of your electronic packet here as our plan for approval of the next budget. I'm recommending our school board meeting be moved from our regular date of February 17th to February 24th. And then with a board meeting and budget hearing on March 24th, so the board will see the preliminary budget on February 24th, and 30 days later they'll see the, or 28 days later they'll see the, take final action on the budget for next year. Does that make sense?
Yes. So we're actually moving 2 meetings,
Correct.
February and March. I got it.
Right. I think we've already set March on the 24th, but
We love to.
because that's spring break that previous week.
I think we did change
Yeah.
that. Okay, so that's all you want from us? is to
That's all I
move those
need
2
at this
board
time.
meetings? All right. I need a motion moving the February and March board meetings to the 24th of each month. Mark,
Second.
Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, discussion items. A is the SIAC committee.
Just thought I'd put that on there, see if anyone has any further input or any advice, recommendations for that.
Have there been some additions?
There have been. I haven't
Okay,
updated this
oh, that's
list.
fine. I just had talked to somebody who said that he volunteered to be on, Al Madison said he would serve, and I said, well.
Al would be awesome.
He would be awesome, that's right, so.
Put that down.
I gave you one name, I don't know if you've contacted him.
I have, he
Okay.
declined.
All right.
Who's that? Yes, yes I do. I have not contacted anybody at this point, that we've just been given
Yes.
a bunch of other issues at this point.
Swimming.
Yeah.
I really feel bad about this too, because we really needed to get this SIAC going here in November, December, but we'll get it going this next semester, we need to.
Okay, B is staffing of secondary administrative positions.
The board asked for this on the agenda tonight, so we can begin to discuss, is this the proper distribution of administrative personnel? On page 30 in your electronic packet, you can see that if you compare us to a lot of other districts of similar size, we are on the low side of staffing for our administrative positions and our building principal positions. And I would like to suggest that, considering also that our high school principal position is split out, not just as high school principal, but activities director, and I'd say that's rather rare.
I would like to add to that even more. Not only is he high school principal, he's the junior high principal plus activity. I mean, he pretty much has 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah, I think.
And no one person can do 3 full-time jobs.
We need to
It's-
look at
It's
that.
impossible. I think we need to do more than look at it. I think we need to make an concerted effort to split it back out.
I agree.
It needs to be done. It's just, the man is really good at both jobs, but he cannot continue to fund. You know, it was supposed to be a 1-year thing for him,
It was.
and it's way past 1 year.
So are you?
Yes, but he's got help this year.
Yes, he's got
Right.
help, but he's still.
I think that's
mean,
why it continued,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we gave him help.
Are you directing us to ask the superintendent to make the principal position a full-time 7-12 principal, period, and then we'll rethink the athletic director?
Yes.
Okay. There's your direction. Yep. Okay. The convention reports, do we want to, since this meeting's getting kind of long, do you want to table it till the next meeting? Is
Sounds
everybody
good.
okay with that?
Sounds good.
All right.
Just don't forget Steve Pemberton.
Was awesome.
Was it?
Did you ever get his book?
I ordered it, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
No.
I expect to have it shortly. I got it on paperback, $7 or $8, cheap, Amazon.
I sent him a line, but they didn't have any.
I know you did. Okay. All right. Future agenda planning.
Just, I put on next month's agenda on every meeting, just so you can take a look at it and see, offer your input. It was at this time last meeting that we decided, the board decided we should talk about staffing our administrative position, for example.
Somewhere we'll probably need business about the playground.
Yep. So add the playground, add the officials pay thing, and add the school board convention.
Yeah, because official pay is really different than almost anything else we do. I mean, everybody else who submits a bill is either on payroll or they submit an invoice, and then we put a bill jacket together and we approve it at the board meeting. That's different.
Is there a reason why we can't just approve the whole thing on an annual basis? I mean, it's not gonna change.
I don't think you have to for anything that comes out of the activity fund.
Yeah, I don't think we have to. I think it's
I
just
think
a
it-
matter of procedure, just suggesting to the AD how we would like it to be done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that just needs to be.
Which agenda item?
D.
Well, we're moving from D to E.
We
Slip.
sort of segued as we were talking about D into E. Okay, so let's
I don't
discuss
think we ought to
that.
decide this, frankly. I think that this is something that ought to be resolved between the AD, business office, and our superintendent. They come back next time and tell us what the policy is going to be, and we'll do it.
That'd be a lot more money.
That's right. That way, we aren't going to fix that all tonight. And
I don't
understand
think we're
where-
going to fix it tonight, but I think we have to understand that the way we're doing it is not
Not working.
acceptable, and we will not get officials.
I hear.
We will not get quality officials.
I think we used to pay him that night.
I think we did
We
too.
used to
And
walk
I-
away with a check.
I think that
Yes,
would be
I'm pretty sure
appropriate.
that's
I
true.
think that would be easy, you wouldn't have to mail
Yeah.
it,
Well-
if that's possible.
May I say that Teresa's been right on top of this. I mean, the complaint came in her second day on the job. Okay, and she had an audit to prepare for, keeping in mind that, and prior to Teresa's arrival, we had one Wonder Woman in the business office missing 2 other positions. And meanwhile, we've had some problems with our finances, unpaid federal tax on our diapers, and all the time preparing for an audit, everything else that's been coming up, the TSS money. And I think those 2 ladies are just doing super, and Thelma with the additional help, she's been a great help here, and this will be, I just guarantee you this is going to get taken care of. It's really a non-issue.
Okay, sounds good.
And I explained all that to Kenny when he called me, and he wasn't trying to be difficult.
No,
He
no.
just wanted,
He just wants a result.
yeah, and to let us know how it's done in some other districts.
Okay.
Okay, on to the closed session. All right, so we need a vote to go into closed session.
I would make a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of evaluating the performance of our superintendent.
Okay?
I'll
Moved by
second
Brenda,
it.
second by Jane. We need a roll call vote to go into closed session.
Kathy Burke,
Yes?
Sharon Barkman,
Yes.
Gary Beckman,
Yes.
Rick Montano,
Yes.
Teresa Musman, Mark Strickland,
Yes.
Jane Crowe.
Yes. Okay. We will be in closed session. You'll have to.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, you do, but you can go home if you want.
Right, you get to go home early.